Welcome back to Smith Coding and Design. In the previous video tutorial, we went over the first two CAM operations to create our Pokeball Ashtray. That was a facing and a 3D adaptive clearing. Today we're going to go through two more operations. We're going to do a 2D contour where we clean up the outside of the ashtray, and then we're going to do another adaptive, 3D adaptive, where we take a 1/4 inch end mill and just clean up where that 3/8 end mill was too big. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to start by going up to 2D, and we're going to do a contour. We're going to select our tool. So I'm going to my Tormach library, and I'm going to select my 3/8 inch 3-flute Gorilla Silverback. Select OK. And now we are running at 7,500 RPM, 30 inches per minute, and 1.3 thousandths per tooth. I'm going to go to the Geometry tab. And now the geometry selections have changed in Fusion. So what I'm going to do is go to Chain, and I'm going to select a closed chain, and I'm going to select the bottom of the model. I'm going to click OK. And now we're going to go to our heights. So again, in our previous operations, we removed all of the material from the top of our part. So I'm going to go to model top for the top height and for the feet height. And then we will go to our passes tab. And I'm going to enable smoothing, and I'm going to enable feed optimization. There's only 10 thousandths left on the outside of our part, so I don't need to worry about step over or anything of that nature. What I will do is add about 50 thousandths of finish overlap. And what that will do is, if there's any stock or any little imperfections left over from the entry of the tool, that little bit of overlap we've added will overlap that entry point and clean up those imperfections. So I want to do that. The next thing that I will do is go to linking, and I prefer a 45-degree entry. So I'll click OK. And that should be it. Fusion will generate our toolpath for us. And as always, we right click and simulate and make sure that we don't collide with our fixture or we don't run our tool through our model. Okay, that was nice and quick. So we went and we finished the outside of our ashtray. All right, the next thing we want to do is go ahead and create our second roughing or a second adaptive clearing. So I'm going to go to 3D adaptive clearing, and this time we're going to go to tools. I'm going to go to my Tormach library, and I'm going to select my Char's 1/4 inch end mill. I'm going to click OK. And now again, since this is a 3D adaptive clearing, Fusion 360 takes in the geometry of our model for us. So we do not need to go to our Geometry tab. We are running at 8,000 RPM, and we are running 30 inches per minute. That gives us a feed per tooth of right about 1.25 thousandths. We'll skip over geometry, go to heights. Again, we removed all of the stock from the top of our model so we can make our top height and our retract height the model top. We'll go ahead and go into our passes tab, and again we want our optimal load to be around 10% the diameter of the tool. So I'm going to make this 20 thousandths, which is right around 8%. Our stock to leave, I'm going to change this from 20 thousandths to 10 thousandths. All right, we don't need to worry about smoothing or feed optimization since this is a roughing strategy. All right, everything looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Again, it'll take a minute for Fusion to generate the toolpath since it's an adaptive clearing. All right, now I'll go ahead and click on the toolpath so we can see what our finished stock would look like, and then we'll simulate it. I already noticed there are two issues. The first one being, if we zoom in, if we look at the channels along the top of the ashtray, we notice that there is a large piece of stock left that comes to a sharp point. That is bad because when we come in next and we do our contouring operation, we're expecting there to be 10 thousandths worth of stock left on the sidewall. So that would be too much stock. That's way more than 10 thousandths. So we'll clean that up in a minute by reducing our minimum cutting radius so we can squeeze our 1/4 inch end mill in there. The other issue I'm seeing is if you look closely, you'll notice the toolpath says it's going to take almost 30 minutes, which is way too long. And so what's happening is the 3D adaptive clearing toolpath is going all the way inside of the ashtray and removing stock that we'll take care of later, particularly in our Op 2 after we've poured our epoxy and we go in and clean up the bottom of the ashtray. So what I'm going to do now is just double click on the toolpath, and then I'm going to go to the passes tab, and we will fix our minimum cutting radius. So we will change that instead of 25 thousandths down to 10 thousandths, and we'll just go ahead and press OK. We'll still have the issue where the toolpath takes 30 minutes, but we'll fix that in a second. For now, we just want to make sure that we cleared out the excess stock that was left inside of the channels. So if we zoom in here, we see that that is indeed the case, and we're left with just our 10 thousandths that we'll clean up with our contour. So now what I'll do is I'll double click on the toolpath again, and this time we're going to go back to our heights tab. And because we only want to go and clear off these channels and leave the rest of the inside of the ashtray for our second op, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to bottom height and then selection, and I'm just going to select the surface of one of those channels. Okay, and click OK. And now the toolpath will be limited to just going down to the bottom of that channel, and as you can see, that is the case. So the stock on our sidewalls still look fine, and our toolpath went from 29 minutes down to 4 minutes. All right, we'll go ahead and simulate our 3D adaptive clearing to make sure we didn't do anything stupid. So we will right click and we will go to simulate, and then we'll press play and hope it's not too fast. All right, everything looks good. We'll go ahead and speed it along just a little bit. There we go. So looks like we cleaned up all the stock in the channels, and we didn't go down and remove any stock from the bottom of the ashtray. So I think we are fine there. Now we'll go ahead and set up our 2D contour. So we'll go to 2D contour. We're going to use the same Schar's end mill. So we'll go to my Tormach library and we'll choose the 1/4 inch 3 flute Schar's end mill. We'll click OK. We're running at 8,000 RPM, 30 inches per minute, and our feed per tooth is right at 1.25 thousandths. We'll go to our geometry, and this is going to be painstakingly slow. So what I'll do is I'll show a couple selections, and then I will go ahead and jump to the video. So what we're going to have to do is go and individually select all of these contours and in which we want to go ahead and finish. All right, so now that we have all of our contours selected, we will go into the heights tab and we will just make sure everything's fine there. So again, we've already removed all the material off the top of our model, so we will go with model top, and our bottom height is our selected contour, which is perfect. So we'll jump over to our passes tab, and we will go ahead and enable smoothing and feed optimization. Okay, so that should be everything we need to do in our passes tab. We'll go to linking, and I will make the lead and sweep angle at 45 degrees, and that should do it for our 2D contour. So I will click OK, and then we'll go ahead and right click and simulate, and we'll slow it down so we can actually see what we're doing, and we'll just make sure there are no collisions. All right, everything looks nice. So we're cleaning the bottom and the sidewalls with one, well, I should say with both passes. So that's nice. Taking advantage of the diameter of the tool. All right, I'll speed it up a little now. And there we go. There is our contour. Okay, so here we are coming in with the 3/8 inch Gorilla Silverback end mill. We're just doing our contour operations. We're walking around the outside of the part, just cleaning up the 10,000s, trying to leave a smooth surface finish. Now we're performing the 3D adaptive clearing with a 1/4 inch Shars end mill. We're just going in and cleaning up those channels where the 3/8 inch end mill from our first adaptive clearing, the diameter was too big for that tool to fit inside of the channels. And now we're going to finish off with our 2D contour, again with that same 1/4 inch Shars end mill, and we're just going around inside of all those channels and taking off the 10,000s we left on the edges, just making sure that surface finish is nice and smooth.